Time for us to enjoy some more of the coinage of that great emperor no one but numismatists care about, the great Probus. Today we're looking at some varieties of the type known as Consular Bust. During the chaos that was the 3rd century AD, when generals made themselves emperors and only cared about the support of their armies, the old Senate at Rome was, in all practical senses, forgotten, with the empire becoming basically a military dictatorship. Emperor Probus, however, either pretended very well to care for the senatorial traditions or legitimately cared for this old republican institution. One of the ways he demonstrated his appreciation for them was to depict himself on some of his coins wearing the consular robes, as he assumed the position of consul for a number of years. These are beautiful coins, full of detail, and each mint had its little twist, its unique ways of showing Probus dressed as a consul. So today, no big numismatic mysteries, let's just appreciate some varieties in this really cool coin type. We start with this example from Serdica. Very straight lines in this example, at least in his head. It's almost like his head was a square. You can see like the border where his hairline meet his forehead. It's almost like a 90-degree angle. Still, very sharp, very masculine looking bust, which was something desirable at the time. And still, if we look at the consular robes, full of detail, like where in his shoulder you have like these almost look like shoulder pads, and they have like some draperies falling down his arm, and another nice little detail on his chest. You can actually see a little laurel wreath engraved within the fabric of the robes. Lovely example. But what really shines about this coin is the reverse. It's in remarkable condition, no signs of corrosion or wear or anything. The silvering is practically gone, but you can see that even without the silvering, the coin looks fantastic. It's that Sol Invicto type where Sol, the sun god, is with his chariot and he's heading straight toward you. He's looking to the right and saluting someone. That's probably why he's running us over with his chariot. And as you can see, each one of the horses has its head in a different position. The die engraver was really like, he wasn't very lazy engraving the horses. He made sure each one of them had a different pose. Lovely coin. We then have this interesting example now from the Mint of Rome. We can notice that it is struck in quite a different style. Now his head has more like rounder lines. You can notice like where his hair meets his forehead, you don't have such a sharp break, and all of his features are smoother. Also, his consular robes, they have a completely different pattern of drawings. The Mint of Rome in particular, I really like for the consular busts because they're really full of details. His hand is also more pronounced, holding the scepter, and the scepter itself, it's a little bit funny, like it's so short, it's almost like he's holding an ice cream cone. Still, this is a lovely piece. Heading to the reverse, we have a variety of the Sol Invictus with the chariot coming towards you. Notice how nice. This time, Sol is actually looking at you. He actually means to run you over. And he also has his we can notice his like oversized hand saluting the crowd and saluting you as he runs over you. And it's really interesting. The mint mark for these ones, well, it's very easy to identify for the Mint of Rome because in the lower part of the design, there's a little letter R. The B at the other side is for Roma Beta, so the second workshop of the Mint of Rome. Now let's look at this other example from the Mint of Rome. Once more, nice, very well rounded up details on his face. The consular bust in this example is quite interesting. You notice there's a lot of like straight lines instead of little wiggly details like the previous pieces. So it's a whole bunch of straight lines throughout his shoulder piece, and the center part of his chest. It has like little pellets. It's almost like a mishmash between the military type, the cuirassed bust, where you would see these little pellets there as his chainmail, and the typical consular bust. I really like this type. It's almost like someone who used to make military busts was assigned to make a consular bust. On the reverse, we once more have the Sol Invicto type. And I particularly like this one because I think out of all of the other types, it's the one that has the most details. Probably the engravers spent the most time in it. It's full of like little, tiny little details, like the mane of the horses, each one of the little paws of the horses and dragging the chariot is actually drawn in. And even his personal chariot, like the part where the god stands in, it's full of little details. Another lovely piece. We now have an example from the mint of Cyzicus, and notice how this mint has a different, like the bust has different proportions compared to the other mints. As you can see, the head of the emperor is much more prominent, it's much larger in relation to his body, and also for this particular example, it's in pristine condition. You can see there's barely any wear into it, and the beard is like very well, like very clearly defined from the rest of his face. Very well made, well accomplished coin. When we look at his robes, notice in the shoulder part, I think it's the nicest detail. So you have two side stripes, and at the central section, you have like this wavy line going all the way from his back to the front of his chest. And as this wavy line goes, there's little pellets on each side. Lovely coin as well, quite big for the type. And once more on the reverse, the common type of the Sol Invicto. So now you can see that if you get a Consular Bust, it's very likely that you're going to get a Sol Invicto reverse. Notice the mint of Cyzicus has a longer abbreviation for the mint. So you have like at the very bottom of the design, you have the 20:1 proportion of silver per copper in the coin, and just over it, right next to where the paws of the horses are, you see CM. This is for Cyzicus Moneta, or literally the mint of Cyzicus. Now we have an example from Siscia. Notice that now we once again have the small head variety, quote unquote. Notice that for this obverse, the shoulder pads are actually quite small. They don't even reach like the bottom of the flan like the other pieces do. And you can see at the side, very prominent, the little flaps of fabric that would lay over his shoulder. Also, notice that the scepter that Probus is holding, it's not like a line, it's not like an actual scepter, but just a series of little dots with the little eagle at the top. Finally, for a bit of a change on the reverse, we have the Bicaracta type, so 2 characters. On the left, we have the Emperor holding the Aquila, the main legionary standard, and he's receiving an orb from an incredibly muscular Jupiter, who's also holding a scepter. And for the last coin of the day, we look at another example from Siscia. As you can see, remarkably different from the other one, although they were from the same mint. And this just shows you how even at the same mint, sometimes the same issue, different die engravers had wildly different ways of depicting the emperor. Still, such a lovely coin. And on the reverse, we have the Adventus, the scene of the emperor entering the city. In this case, it's very interesting. This type, it's probably attributed to the year when Probus actually went to the city of Siscia, so this is more likely than not a commemorative issue. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed another episode of the awesomeness of the coinage of Probus. I hope with these videos I managed to create 1 or 2 dedicated Probus collections among you people. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and I'll see you soon.